Um, this is me, and I'm like a lot of people, I've gone all different ends of this continuum. There's a lot of things. We're all very complicated people, right? We live very complex lives. If you think back about your history and you were to try to tell your story to somebody, like, where do you begin, right? Well, I was born in 1969. Okay, no. I was super, super shy as a child. I'm one of 3 children. I'm the middle child, which is probably even worse, right? I have an older brother, a younger sister, and for several years, I joke that we would go to church every Sunday, and for years, I don't think anybody really knew my parents had 3 kids, because I was always somewhere, like, behind the door, hanging out in another room. I was so shy, I just didn't even like to be around people at all. So I kind of was happy in that don't exist place, but really not so happy in that don't exist place as a shy person. There's a lot of isolation when it comes to being really shy and having a hard time coming out of your box. I learned later I was a lot like my dad when he was growing up. He was also very shy. And so what that led to kind of long term for me was trying to figure out where I fit in the world. I never really felt like I fit, and when I went through high school, that led to a lot of extreme behaviors and extreme unhealthy behaviors. In my case, I just stopped eating. I was anorexic most of my high school years. I hid that very well from my parents. They were divorced by that time. It was just my mom trying to raise 2 girls. My older brother was kind of out of the house. And I just was extreme on one end. Half a granola bar lasted me 4 days, just to give you an idea. I was 96, 97 pounds. I'm 5'2", which sounds great. I was like, ooh, 100 pounds. It's really not. I mean, skin and bones. I have an old high school picture I didn't put up here. I probably should have. I was in the marching band, and you can totally pick me out in this black and white picture because I'm like the stick girl. And I wore little kitty-sized clothes, and it was just not a very healthy place for me to be, obviously. I carried that on through college, unfortunately, and added to that some extreme exercise, because in my mind, I was trying to find control of my life, and I controlled it through my weight and my physical status. And so in my way, I was thinking if I exercise more, I'll stay skinny, which is what my goal was at the time, right? So unhealthy. But that's where I was. Those were those extremes that I really lived through. And I had to go through a process of self-acceptance, trying to figure that out. It was through a few key people in my life that helped me really establish that there are healthy ways to take care of your body, and it's through feeding it right and exercising it right. And I had to go through that process to really figure out where I needed to be, and that self-acceptance that kind of came along with that. I will tell you, that's a lifelong journey. When you start out with that, it's something that I still deal with mentally every day. It's just like PTSD in a way. It sticks with you for the rest of your life, and it's something that I have to be uber aware of on myself and my own personal being. Ooh, don't touch the mic. So, just like everybody else, there's a lot of fear and doubt when it comes to trying new things and trying to figure out who you are. And then you throw relationships in there, which are all complicated, right? And we all have several complicated relationships in our lives, I'm sure. Some healthy, some not so healthy, and I was the same way. And so what happened in all of this was that I met a great guy, and we got married, and he was an aerobics instructor, imagine that, and I was teaching aerobics at the time. I had kind of found my way out of this hole, and I was starting to do more involved in healthy fitness and exercise for myself, and I wanted to pass that on to other people. That's kind of how we met, and so we went from there, but it ended up being that he was actually a military veteran also. And he did have and still suffers from post-traumatic stress disorder. And it comes in violent anger outbursts. And that was a very, again, unhealthy place for me to be. I got pregnant with this amazing kiddo, and he was very, very young, and the day that the vacuum cleaner went through the wall as I was standing there holding my child, I decided that was no longer a healthy place for me or my son to be. So, relationships are tricky, right? I had to trust. I had to go really deep within myself, and I had to step away from that unhealthy relationship, which is what I did. But I will tell you, it was the best thing that I ever did. Now, he's still a great guy. I will not diss him at all. He's had to deal with a lot of issues in and of himself. So all of that leads me to now being a single mom. And my son was 11 months old by the time I was divorced from my ex-husband. And it was me and him. And I went to that whole other extreme. Remember I said I was down there and I was, yep. So now I'd never really gotten off all of the weight from having the baby. I put on 35 pounds when I was pregnant with my son, and I gained another 25 after he was born through all of this other stuff that was going on in my life. So I was carrying around, I went from one end completely to the other. And again, kind of miserable, kind of unhappy, and trying to figure out what the heck am I doing here. I was walking that confidence tightrope, right? I knew what I'd done in the past. I knew I'd made some positive changes in my life, but I just couldn't find my way, right? This is at one of the lowest points probably. Again, I'm like a lot of people when we have weight issues, we don't keep the pictures of when we look our worst. Those are the ones we burn, right? So that's about as close as I can get to probably one of my worst moments. I started running in the morning. I would get up super, super early. At the time, I also moved my mother into my house because I was traveling a lot with my job, and I had to take care of a small child. So my mother, I moved her across the country to live with me. That's an issue. Talk about relationships, right? But it allowed me to have a little bit of space and time in my world to try to start to take care of me again. And I would get up at 4 o'clock in the morning because that was the best time of the day, and plus we live in Texas, to get out and just move my body. It was my brain time. It was my body time. And this picture right here is when I was doing really good. I was out and I was moving in the morning, and when I look back at this one, I think that's still to me kind of a before picture because I was trying to find my way, okay? I needed a catalyst. We all do. When we need to make a change in our life, there's usually something that gives us that push. This one right here was my push, okay? Isn't he beautiful? So long ago. He was my catalyst because, like I said, I had to remove myself from a difficult situation because I was Mama Bear, right? I was responsible for this tiny little thing that his life depended on me, and I had to make sure that I nurtured it, okay? So this was my life. Just like how many people are parents? As soon as you become a parent, your world changes, right? Yes. So he's my one and only. I'm very proud of him. He's very involved in everything. I encouraged that. I wanted him to try everything, right? He was a musician, and he's a book reader, and he's a sports guy, and he swims and soccer and dirt bikes and loves his dog. And actually his dog's right here in this picture. You can't see him. He just loved life, right? But I realized as he was going through all this, and I'm pushing him to try this and try that and find his way, was that I was really actually living a double standard. I want my kid to figure out to be a strong person and to know who he is in the world and to go out there with confidence. But I wasn't doing that for myself. And so what kind of model truly was I being for my kiddo when I was living that kind of double standard? So that's when I realized that, that was my catalyst. That was a little bit of my epiphany. Was that the distance between who I am right at that moment and who I want to be was completely up to me. It's separated only by the actions of what I do or don't do, because both of them are action. That was when I decided, okay, this I have to start doing for me because I'm a role model. Not only to my kid, but what you realize is that you're a role model to everybody that surrounds you, right? And so I decided it was kind of what I call flipping the script. That was my moment. I'd had a couple of those moments in my life already, right? I'd gone through some very weird things, as we all do. But I thought, okay, let's put this down. I write it down on paper. I'm highly degreed. I've got 2 degrees, halfway way to my 3rd. And, you know, I'm an educator. That's how I started out. I was actually a teacher for years. And I taught kids, and then I taught teachers, and then I went into research, and I taught more teachers and districts. I'm an educator, right? I should be able to teach myself. Right? Just put it all together, okay? I'm a master's level nutritionist. I was a certified personal trainer since the early 90s. I've been doing this for a while. I've done my own time in the trenches, right? And it's time for me to push the envelope. And even more importantly, it's time for me to start walking my talk. Because I didn't really feel like I was. That was what I realized. I took a hard look at myself in the mirror and I said, I'm encouraging and empowering and I want all this to happen to these great people, but I have to walk the talk too. That's where the value is, okay? And so that's, in order for me to do my own thing, that's where my value comes to share with other people. As if I can tell you, I have done exactly everything that I'm asking you to do, and I promise you it will get you to where you need to be. I need to be able to walk that talk. That was my moment, okay? And so I went from this to this. This is my very first fitness competition. I still laugh when I look at that picture. But this opportunity came up to me. I have some friends who are obviously in the business, personal trainers, that kind of thing, who are in the area. Most of them are guys. There's not a lot of female personal trainers. We need to empower ourselves to do that more. But they said they wanted to do a fitness competition. It was kind of like they called it fitness. It wasn't really bodybuilding at the time. It was more like sports model, fitness magazine kind of competition. And there were 2 of them, 2 guys, and they wanted to go as a team, but they felt like they wanted a female on their team. They needed a girl. So they said, would you be up for doing this? They approached me about, I don't know, it was, I think September, the year, and the competition was in July. So I hemmed and hawed for a while. I kind of half-hearted said, sure, yeah, I'll be the girl. I'll figure out what do I need to do. Well, then all of a sudden it hit me, come December, right around the time I'm making pie, for Christmas, was that, okay, that was 7 months away, and I really probably should put a plan together. I could make this happen, because I had to represent, right? They already looked kind of good. I mean, they're kind of studs, right? And I felt, I gotta hold my end of this team thing. And so I really put my nose to the grindstone, changed a lot about what I was doing personally with my own diet and nutrition, with my own exercise protocol. I had a plan. I had 7 months, because in 7 months I was getting up on stage in a 2-piece bikini in front of over 200 people, 300 people, I don't know what, right? I had never done that before ever in my life. Okay, that's enough of a catalyst, let me just tell you right there, right? It's one thing to get yourself into the 2-piece bikini, but it's another to get there in stripper heels and up in front of everybody, and smile and look like you're having fun. So I had to take some time to do that. This was the end result. What was interesting was in this whole process of learning about myself, I would also go to people who have done this before, right? That's how you learn, is you learn from the people who've been down the road, learn from people who are experts in their field. That's what I did. I always told my son, you never make a decision without your eyes wide open. And so I went in and I talked to, a lot like what you did, talked to absolutely everybody I could find. And there are a couple key people, especially in this area, who became kind of my mentors. And I would go, I've never done this before. I've never gone on stage. What do you do, right? Hey. Okay, that I can tell you right now, I knew that's not what I was supposed to do. So I had to go start talking to people and figuring out what it is that I need to do, how I might be able to get there. And in the process, my body's changing, right? I'm dialing it in. I'm making these amazing changes. But I'm starting to notice that my body doesn't really look like a Sports Illustrated model kind of body. I'm German. I'm short. And I'm stocky, which just essentially means we have these little muscle bellies. And so when we start building muscle, I build relatively easily. So I would go to some posing classes, which is where you learn to basically pose, walk across stage, do the right kind of strut. And I'd be looking at the other girls, and you know, I didn't quite look like them, but I'm going with it. I think I can handle it. I will be able to rock my bikini like the rest of them. But one of the guys who was a bodybuilder at the time, kind of running the show, he said to me, he says, have you ever considered maybe doing figure? Well, no. I remember figure from the very early 90s when it first came out. I was just blown away by these amazing physiques of these women. It's always been in the back of my head, right? Oh my gosh, if my body could only look like that, right? And so now here's this guy saying, you know, you could probably do figure because you have more the body shape for that. Well, whatever, right? I mean, there's no way. So I went to the competition, but he had convinced me at the time. He says, just do me a favor, learn the poses, and then when you go up there, you can compete in 2 categories. You can compete in the bikini, the fitness model thing, and then see how you do in the figure. Oh, okay, now I have to learn how to walk across stage and hold a pose, right? So I had to practice all of that. But the long story short was that this was my very first show. It's a borrowed bikini. I will tell you right now, it doesn't really fit. Just saying. Now I know, right? Not the way it should. But I did. I went through. We did the fitness model competition. I thought I rocked it. I was feeling great. I was having a ton of fun, and I came in 4th. Yeah, I was pleased with that, right? First time on stage. I was old. I have to tell you the other part of the story. Part of this goal that made it so important to me was I was turning 40 that year. And I damn well was going to hold my own up there on that stage with those 20-somethings. Okay? That was a big part of my motivator. So I was really pleased. 4th place, bikini, not too bad. Well, then I got up there in my little flashy figure suit, and we had the figure competition. And I'm happy to tell you, actually, that I took 1st place on that competition. And that was like a whole new world opened up to me. I thought, I was literally in shock. I think my mouth was hanging open in a couple of those photos that they did on stage because I was blown away. I felt like I'd found my niche. That was so exciting. Bikini be gone, right? I was a figure girl. And so that was my trophy. That was a pretty amazing day. And that's when I realized that, you know, it's not about finding yourself. It's not a journey to find yourself. This is a journey day to day about creating yourself. Who is it that you want to become? What is it that you want to do? Well, do it. It's totally up to you. So this was my evolution, my continuing, ongoing evolution. I'm the change that I want to be. I'm creating the picture of what I want to see, what I want to see in the photos, what I want to see in the mirror, when I step out of the shower, you know what I mean? This was my process. So this was me rocking bikini. Not too bad, right? I thought I'm looking pretty good, but see, the problem is I'm a little too muscly. You can kind of see that. But I got a little sass in my face, don't I? Mm-hmm. I'm finding myself. Not so much here, right? Yeah, this is, oh God, what have I done? And this is, you know what, I got this. A year later, I pursued the figure competing, and a year later went to the Natural Olympia, which is pretty much your biggest international show that there ever is. We have about 50 countries represented, 52 represented at the International Natural Olympia, and this was my debut at that level, and that's a big gold medal around my waist, because not only did I take figure, I won my short class because I'm short, but I also won overall. That was the day that I turned pro in my figure category, which was super exciting. As you can only imagine, the trophy's about as big as I am. So that you can see in the face maybe that was a moment. That's a total backstage shot my husband took, and I'm like, it's way better than all the stage shots, because that to me communicates that moment of celebration. I found my space, you know what I mean? I found out who I am, and I found my strength in all of that. In fitness, just like what Justin talked about earlier, I firmly believe that fitness and training and attention to self is not only strengthening the body and the muscle and the bone and the structure, but it's strengthening of the heart and the mind. I mean, that's what I say. When I say find your strength, that's what I mean. I don't mean find your strength always here. It comes here. yeah, that looks good, right? But it's inner strength. Find that strength and hold on really, really tight to it. I have continued to progress. I think we are all a work in progress. 2011, I actually did a lot of fitness modeling. That's just one of the shots from it. I did more competing. I kind of got hooked. I like it. I love being up on stage. It's a blast. It's nerve-wracking, I'm not going to lie. But it's, gosh, you get out there and it's like, okay, guys, I'm sorry, but it's your moment to be your diva. Remember that inner badass that I was telling you about? We all have it. Bam, she shines out there on the stage. Get in there, get those heels on. I tell all my girls, I said, it's your opportunity to be a diva for a day, and it's okay. It's all you. It is you. It's the makeup, it's the hair, it's the tan, it's the look, it's the sass. All of it, that is your moment in the sun. This is me heading to my pro show as a figure competitor. One of the times that I competed as a pro. I do check-ins. This is one of my check-ins too. I check in with myself, just like I have all of my clients who, when they are prepping for a show, even when they're not prepping for a show, we do pictures. Because pictures are one of your most valuable measurement tools. We can do the tape measure, we'll do the body fat measurements, we'll do the scale, whatever it says. But those are just numbers. We also do pictures, because here's the thing. When you do step out of the shower in the morning every day, you kind of see the same old, same old. You see it day after day after day, so you're not seeing those small little changes. But when you take a picture and you hold that picture from 1 month to the next month, to the next month, to the next month, then you start to see the changes. Oh, look at that. I've got a definition right there. Or I've lost some inches on my waistline. Or look, that little roll is starting to go away. Right? You start to see that you don't necessarily see every day in the mirror. So I do my check-ins too. This is how I monitor my own progress, because remember what I said? I need to walk my talk. This is so important to me. I need to be the one who's actually out there in the trenches with you. I'm doing it too. I'm continually a work in progress. There's goals that I have, things that I'm trying to meet, things that I'm trying to maintain. I have to walk my talk and do the same thing. So there I am, checking in. It's about 4 days before competition. How do I look? What do I need to do? What do I need to make adjustments for? Because 4 days, things can happen, okay? And it progresses. So in this whole time, I'm still raising my kid. I will tell you that this has been a journey for him too. This is him right before he graduated from high school. We took a trip to the beach. He is now in the Navy. He went in as a SEAL candidate, and he will probably still go back and try that. But he's a rescue swimmer. I'm super proud of him. He's an airman, so he's up in helicopters all the time. He loves it, and he's learning some amazing skills. But he's learned some things from me too, I suppose. When he goes through all of his training, he sends me what his training is, so I have to match it. So if he has to do a 1.5 mile run in 10 minutes, I have to get my ass out there and try to keep up with him. Because I told him one time when he went off, he was in buds and he was telling me what he had to do, and I said, okay, I said, I'm going to do exactly what you have to do for PT, so that when you guys are having a really crappy day, you can look over to the guy next to you and say, dude, my mom can do this. Yeah. Right? So it's a personal challenge for me too. Now I have not jumped out of helicopters. I kind of draw the line there. But that's kind of back and forth. So see what I mean about that role modeling? So I didn't do a disservice. Right? That was so important to me. I had to model really good behavior. He's the kid that would rather go to Super Salad for the salad buffet than go to Whataburger. He's been that way forever. I would have random strangers walk up to me and say, how do you get him to eat like that? Yeah. Well, you know what? It's all he's ever known. And he knows that it makes him feel good. And he went through those teenage things, right, about eating pizza and the Whataburger and the Sonic with his friends and whatever. And then, you can't quite tell there, but his junior year of high school, he got really tired of that. And he says, okay, Mom, he says, I want to find my abs. And so he was a swimmer and a soccer player, so he's active and he's off with his shirt all the time and everything. So he dialed it in, just like we do. Let's make these couple changes to his nutrition. And over the course of those months, he came out rocking some pretty amazing abs. And he figured it out. You know what I mean? He was at that age where now he knows he can still go have burgers with his buddies, but he also knows when he tells me, when he calls me up, what he's eating, which is hard to do when you're in the military because you know you're limited by what they're feeding you. And he goes out and spends his own money buying food. But, you know, he's like, I got a spinach salad and I had double chicken. And, you know, I mean, he's telling me all of this. It just cracks me up. So anyway, this is my progression. I'm very proud of him and what he does. And I continue to try to be a good role model, not only to him, but to the people around me, and certainly always and first probably and foremost to myself. This was the show that Tabitha and Gerard were talking about when we, it was a great time. I made a transition almost on a fluke from the figure category to the physique category. I have a client who is a breast cancer survivor, and she is 5 years free of cancer now, and she came to me actually I knew her from Gold's Gym. I was just working out there a couple days, and I met her, and she was in the middle of her treatments, and we just chatted. I just started a conversation. I just, you know, my heart goes out to people who are struggling like that. So I'm too much of a softie, am I? No. So we became friends. And then when she was done her treatment, she sought me out. The difference between figure and physique is, you have more muscle mass between figure, and once you get a little bit more muscle mass, physique is a little thicker, okay? But it's also leaner. So now we do want to see the muscle striations. We do want to see the flexing. It's a different posing. In figure is all about female and symmetry and proportion and the hourglass. And so we stand and we pose like this, and it's all beautiful, and we smile, and we're kind of... But I tell you what, I don't know what it was about maybe taking off the shoes, because I have I don't wear heels during the day. I wear tennies, and so I can walk in heels and I can look okay, but I will tell you, when I compete in figure, in anything, I don't wear my glasses. Glasses aren't usually allowed on stage, which basically means I can't see shit. So thank goodness they use bright blue tape to mark the X's on the stage, and I do walk it a few times, and I know about where I'm supposed to land and hit a pose, and do that, and I have no way, I can't see doo-doo. I can't see anything. My husband knows to wear a super bright colored shirt in the audience because that helps me find him. And then he yells, which also helps me find him. But other than that, I just smile and stare because I can't see anything, okay? And so you can imagine that confidence is really important on stage. And so here I am, blind as a bat, in 5-inch heels and a sparkly bikini, supposed to look relaxed and confident. Well, that was taking its toll on me in figure. That was hard because I couldn't see, and it's not getting any better, right? And that, fortunately, was kind of what Tabitha and Gerard saw. They did not see me at the first show. We did this first show in San Antonio. It ended up that little show that we'd committed to doing, the first show, was canceled because there weren't enough registrations. So then we're scrambling because now you've prepped, right? You've gotten your body to this point, where you're ready to get on stage. And I've got this girl and she's competing, and I want her to get on stage before this big show that she has. Shoot, so we had to pick another show. Hello, like one of the biggest shows in the area. It was an IFBB Pro show and an MPC show. It was in San Antonio, down at the Hilton, big, humongous venue. Okay, wow, I felt like I was really out of my element, but we were going to do it. I made my commitment. But I had so much fun. It was like literally that one moment when I got the gold and I was doing that backstage, it was that kind of moment as soon as I stepped on stage. It didn't even matter how I placed. Now, I did take third, just saying, in this huge show on the very first time out at Physique. I was pretty pleased with that because NPC is actually not a natural bodybuilding federation. I don't use any kind of enhancements. I don't use growth hormone. I don't use any diuretics. I don't use any fat burners. I don't use any steroids. I'm just me. But I was competing with girls who do use those things because in an NPC show, they don't screen for that. It's kind of an all for one. So it's apples and oranges. So in my opinion, I was pretty well pleased with third place, right? Not so bad. And more importantly, we had fun. And she had her first show. She came in, she placed pretty well, third, fourth in her category also. And so that was a great experience for her. And we were all prepped and primed, and we're like, all right, let's do this show in October. So it gave us another couple months, and long story short, that's where Tabitha and Gerard were, and I had just found my place. And I guess it must have showed on stage, because all of that confidence, all of that fun, that actually resulted, that's 3 gold medals there. Let's see, what are they? Masters, I took the Masters Physique Championship. I took the short people physique, because they put us in height categories. I'm obviously on the shorter end of the spectrum. And then I won the overall, which basically means they take the girl who wins the tall category and the girl that wins the short category, and they put us together, and then they match us. And then between the 2 of us, they decide who is the overall winner. And that was me. So that was pretty darn exciting too, which also earned me my pro card in physique. How fun is that, right? And the best part was that I was having fun, okay? I always tell my people who are competing, if you place in the top 5, that's amazing. That's absolutely where you need to be. It should never really be about your placement. I will not lie to you. I'm gunning for gold every time. You absolutely want to go in for that, but you can't be let down if you don't, because you already won it the minute you step on that stage. You are in such a small, elite group of people who have done focused and consistent work for a long time to achieve this goal. You've already won that gold. You may as well hang it around your neck. It doesn't really matter what the judges say that day. Your celebration is that you got up there, and that you got up there looking and feeling better that moment than you did maybe the last time you went on stage, or even yesterday, okay? That's your moment. So I always say, and I saw this just this morning, my husband had the TV on, basically, you can learn from your past, learn from your history, but you know what? It's not always about staying there. I'm a real advocate of personal growth, obviously, and change. And so it's not always about focusing on how far you've come, but you want to go, how far do you have to go, right? Value your past and what it has taught you, what has brought you, and who you have become because of that. That's what I've chosen to do with my past. I'm going to learn from that, but I'm also going to say, you know what, I'm still creating that story. I still have somewhere to go. So this is how I translate my love of what I do, because I have found such personal empowerment and growth in what I do personally that I am blessed truly to be able to do this every day with other people. Just like my bikini competitor, I have all kinds of people that I've worked with. They all have their own personal catalyst. They all have their life history, right? This is, I'm going to call her Jane. She's a school administrator, which is why I've chopped off her head. I have people who are in the public eye and don't necessarily want to brag on themselves so that the whole world knows it, but they want to brag on the progress that they've made. When she first came to me, she was the mother of 1. She has been in education for her entire life. She's amazing at what she does, and she was over 300 pounds. Has always struggled with her weight, always, from the time she was tiny little. Over 300 pounds here. This is after our first year and a half of working together. She dropped to, that's about 190 pounds. Her goal, she's a tall girl, her goal is 175. But you know, here's an interesting story. You see her abs, right? She's so excited about that, but here's what she said. She had this vision in her head about when she was going to reach, drop under 200 pounds. That was a huge marker for her. And she hit it. She dropped below 200, and she's like, it doesn't really look like I thought it would look. Because she was so stuck on the number. She realized she still had work to do. She was super pleased about what she'd accomplished, but it wasn't quite that picture in her head yet. She had a lot of work to do. But this is a woman who, I worked with her at Gold's, and she, lots of stigma being a large person and going into a big corporate gym, with, and you're like, she would not meet with me anywhere in the gym except the little women's section. Do you know, if you know that? Some of those big gyms, I hate those. But anyway, there's this little box, and you go behind the little door, and you have your own little ellipticals, and you have a couple weights and some benches, and that's where the women work out. Well, I started there with Jane because she was so fearful of everything else. But I will tell you what, this is a great story. She has since progressed. I have been working with her several years now through another pregnancy, through a knee surgery, and through a back surgery. And so she's gone up and down. She struggles with her weight and the stresses of her life and that kind of thing, but she's focused and she's dedicated and she's still in it to win it. And she is now someone to contend with at Gold's Gym. I'm just saying, if you ever go there on a Saturday morning and you see this woman with like 3 or 4 other women around her pointing, okay, you do bench press and you do this, and then you do that, and then okay, your kettlebell swings and you're going for time, and she's out there. She has like her own little mini-me's that she's got, and she doesn't care who else is on the floor with her. She's out there with the big boys, right? And loves it. And she sees the value of what fitness and health and all of that has done, not only for her own life, but more importantly for her catalyst, being a mom of 2 small boys. And I will tell you, her husband is extremely unhealthy, and that's her biggest fear, is that she is going to be left raising these boys on her own. And that's why she says, all I can really do is take care of me. So we had a great aha moment with Jane. She was very frustrated because she dropped a lot of weight. She dropped about 100 pounds, but she still wasn't under 200, which is what her goal was. And she just plateaued, and she was stuck there, and she was frustrated. And so we had a moment, and I went over to the dumbbell rack one day, and I picked up a 100-pound dumbbell, and I put it on the floor, and she's all frustrated with me, and she's like, what? What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do with that? I said, Jane, I just want you to just pick it up. So she leans down, she picks it up, she holds it, she stares at me, glares at me, and then puts it back down. She's like, okay, what? What was that for? And I said, that is you. That was what you just lost. You used to carry that around on your frame every day. Okay, so she stopped glaring at that moment. And we had one of those moments where it's like, okay, celebrate how far you have come. This is a process. It doesn't happen overnight as much as all of us want it to. It will not. We just have to let go of that. Trust the process, consistency, focus, one day, one step at a time. That's how this all kind of comes together. Another one of my girls who eventually, she told me, this is a mother of 7, by the way, 4 boys, saying, and I know how boys are. I only raised 1, but I know how they are. And she had just felt like she lost her way. She was just worn out. She was just tired. She looks tired in that picture, doesn't she? And she told me, she says, now, I have no desire to get on stage, but I wouldn't mind looking like I do. And I said, I can do that. There's nothing that says you have to be a competitor. I love to work with people who want to compete, but the majority of my clients are not, and that's okay. The fun part is looking like you could be a competitor, right? So when you get stopped at Home Depot or whatever, and nice guns, right? That's like that moment. Whew. Okay, so lo and behold, we worked together, and then guess what? She texted me, I guess so, and said, okay, I'd signed up for this competition. What? Okay, so she actually did a competition, had a great time. Her daughter followed in her footsteps. One of her oldest did a bikini competition a couple years later. So again, found her way. She found her spirit. You know, she is so much happier about who she is now and what she contributes as a mother, as a wife, as a member of society, all of that. We all have our reasons, right? Whatever they may be. This young man, he is in his 20s. He actually signed up for the Gold's competition. I don't know if anybody is a member of Gold's, but they do this 3-month challenge right around the beginning of the year sometimes. And so he signed up for it, and then he was like Tabitha, he told too many people that he'd done it. And he's like, well, shoot, now I'm going to be held to it. And plus, he kind of wanted to impress his girlfriend. So, you know, that age. So he made a whole lot of change in 3 months, September, October, November, December. Yep. And he did not win the competition, but he did come in second, I think. And he was very, very pleased. And so again, we can't show faces, but just progress. Everybody has their reason, and there's no bad reason. You know, it's all part of who we are. You've seen this picture. It's kind of up on one of these little banners. This is my bikini competitor here, my cancer survivor bikini competitor. This was most recently. She has since gone on and done multiple competitions. She enjoys it. It's a good marker for her. It's a good way for her to see her own stamp. And my pictures, that's my time stamp. That's your history. Kind of see where you are and see how you evolve. This is Norma. She's in Florida. I do a lot of this remote coaching, so I have numerous clients who are all over the country, and I had never met her. We did all of our coaching online and over the phone and through pictures and emails, and this is another one. She found her spirit. And you really can't see it in this picture. Maybe you can because it's kind of far away. This was her before picture that she sent me. Okay, now this is all with permission. People don't share their pictures without saying, I want you to share them. I have hundreds of before pictures, but that doesn't mean I'm going to show you all hundreds. I'm going to show you the ones that people say, I want people to know my story. Okay, she's a nurse, an ER nurse, right? So she's in it. She's in the thick of stress all the time. She herself was on 9 different medications when I started with her. And she was very in tune to her medical markers, you know, all of that stuff going on, and she was very specific. We had things we needed to work around. She had a lot of physical limitations and some modifications we needed to make, things that she'd never done before. I walk her through all of that. Now she is on 1 medication and at the lowest dose possible because they're actually dosing her off of it. And everything else is gone. And she's lost 45 pounds, and I truly, truly think she found who she was. She came in to do this very same show that we did in, what was it, just a few weeks ago? June, thank you. As a transformation competitor, excuse me, and she did not win, but she looked, I have to tell you, I think she looked amazing. She should have won. She really should have won. She rocked that stage, and there was this glow about her that I had never seen before. And that was the first time I got to meet her. So that was fun too. It was like a little homecoming. She continues to move on. She wants to compete. There's an interesting story behind this one. In the very early 80s, when bodybuilding first kind of came out and women were in bodybuilding, it was a whole different animal. If you ever want to Google something fascinating, Google that. But she actually was up on stage once in her mid-20s as a female bodybuilder. One time. But she had a memory of it. And she has 2 pictures. And that's what she holds on to. And she asked me, do you think I could ever get back to this? Well, here's the fascinating thing. We're all in agreement about this now. She is better now than she was when she was 25, 26 years old. She looks amazing. She's got muscle and development, and she's going to kill it if she decides to get on stage. And she is 56. She's 56. I'm looking at Gerard like he knows, but he doesn't know. So she's made a huge, huge change also. Then we know our busy mom to badass bikini competitor. Gotta love her, right? And then there's Jack up in the corner. Jack's story is also one of, you know, self-confidence and figuring out who he is, and very, very rough life that I can't even understand myself. Big guy all of his life, not real tall, but big. And he's made some amazing transformations, and he has found fitness and health and nutrition as that kind of guiding light for him too. It just is. When it starts to all click and you start taking really good care of yourself, it becomes who you are. And that's what I love. That's what I love, is I love finding this glowing person underneath all of that. Because you all have it. We all have that badass. We all have that little inner diva, and we have to kind of find them. I love being the coach for that. I can be your coach for that. I've got it figured out. If I don't want to toot my own horn maybe just a little bit, I can help you dial that in for you. Because the beauty of it is that my plan and what I do for me is absolutely not what it is that's going to work for you. It's such an individual process. You can go to Barnes & Noble and you can buy a book, and that diet book, whatever it is, vegan, paleo, no sugar, something, something, whatever, that will help you get a certain place. Might help you lose 10, if you're a guy, 15 pounds. But it's going to kind of stop at a certain point because it doesn't get as individualized as you need it to be. The body is an amazing machine. Dr. Gerard, Tabitha, they know that. That's what they do too. They get it. We have to take care of the machine. If you can learn to feed and work that machine so that it works its most efficient, then you've won the jackpot, okay? But what works for me doesn't work for you, won't work for you, won't work for you. Because we've got to find what dials in exactly right for you. And it's a balance. And that's what I do. That's what I've done. That's what I've been doing for the last 10 plus years is figuring out what do we need to do to dial it in to make it just right for each individual person so that we can see these kinds of changes, right? I mean, Dakota, you know how I met him? I met him at a competition. We were having our after competition dinner at what's the fishy one? Papados. The Papados up in Dallas. He was our server.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And he took my card. He got a hold of me later, and we dialed it in for him. And this is all on his own. And he actually looks even better now. I just need to get an updated picture. Changed his life. Again, he was in that moment. He needed that. He needed a shift. This is my now husband, who's the best guy on the planet. And he's gone through his own transition. He was also he's not a tall guy. And he was also, the last time he stepped on a scale, he was 336 pounds. When he started his journey, it had been a while since he'd stepped on that scale. We'll just put it that way. So he's also made his own progress. I love to be part of that story. That just fires me up. I work too much. I'm always working, but it's because I love what I do. And so this is one of my favorite quotes. It's from a poet, Apollinaire. He's French, of course. My husband would say, of course he's French. He says, "Come to the edge," he said. And we can't. We're afraid. Come to the edge. And so they came. And he pushed them. And they flew. That's my job. I can push you. And I promise you, you will fly. It's what we do. No more excuses. You can make it happen. It's truly what I believe. It's truly what I do. If I can answer any questions for you, I would love to. I train people remotely. I call it virtual coaching. I create that structure for you. What do we need to do with your nutrition? What do we need to do with your training? What do we need to do to make it dialed in and make it work for exactly who you are right now and where you want to go, who you want to be, how you want to feel, what you want to look like. We can make that happen. It will take time, but it's very, very doable. And I'm here to help you with that if you'd like. So, thank you for listening to my story. I am a big fan of the Make a Vet Sweat. I will tell you right now that I also offer a 20% off to veterans. Make a Vet Sweat, Justin has connected with me, and he also offers that, he talked about gym memberships. The virtual coaching falls under a gym membership like that too. So if you or anybody you know might also be interested or needing some kind of assistance like that and just can't afford it on their own, they can connect with me and or Justin, and Make a Vet Sweat can help pay for that first 3 months as well. It's important to me. We also have a little special. Like Gerard had said, I'm offering to Dr. Gerard's patients and anybody who attends our little talks that it's a $180 month fee for the first 3 months. Normally it's $279 for the first month and $199 for each month thereafter for virtual coaching. But for y'all, if you're interested, I'm happy to talk with you about that. We can break it down a little bit more and join the fun, find your place, and create your own story. Thanks again, you guys. I appreciate you.